All right, Trinity family, welcome back to some more digital content. We're going to continue putting stuff like this out on our Facebook and our YouTube, where we are doing teaching, we are doing interviews with fellow members of the Trinity family, and just helping to encourage and equip one another during this time. Today, I am joined by Mary Hornback, who's been going to Trinity for longer than I've been here. I've been going for quite a while, and she wrote a book originally in 2003, I believe, and it's recently been reprinted, so that's what we're going to be talking about. But before we do that, I just want to let you guys know that we're doing a giveaway. So if you like and share this video, you're going to be entered to win 1 of 5 copies of Mary's book. So we will reach out to the winners about a week after this airs. And if you already have a copy, don't worry, you can still win. Just tell us who you want us to send the book to, and we will send it to them on your behalf. So it's really exciting. We are really big fans of the book at Trinity, and we're even bigger fans, of course, of Mary. So first off, Mary, I'm just curious, how long do you think you've been at Trinity? Because you said earlier your parents were founding members, I believe, correct?
Yes. I was probably about 4 years old, and they came from Waterloo. I believe there were 20 people that came, and started a church in Cedar Falls, and it was located in a little schoolhouse up on 2nd Street. At that time, I think it's the school administration building now.
Okay.
So from there, we went into the basement on 2nd and Walnut, and then we had a big fundraiser to build up. So I've started fundraising since we were little.
And we're still fundraising and building more bigger things.
Yes, and
God's been moving.
I really think it's God working through prayer. We had some prayer warriors all through those years. They prayed for finances. They prayed for building, and so I think it's all based on prayer.
I wanted to talk to you about your book, God, Are You Really There? So this was originally published in 2003. It was just recently republished at like a perfect time, and so many people are asking this question. But what kind of made you initially put together these different stories of people and kind of to get this book?
We were going through probably the most difficult time of our lives. Our daughter had run away from home, not in good circumstances, and Shelley lost his job, well, at least laid off from John Deere. And so his dad had said to him, they're laying off. If you get laid off, what are you going to do? And Shelley said, I told my dad, our security is not in God. Our security is not in my job. It's in God. And so when he came home in the middle of the day and said, I don't have a job right now, we said, okay, are we going to trust God? And is he going to be our security? And God did. He just took care of us. One example, somebody gave us a box of potatoes, and the potatoes ran out the same day that he got called back to work. So, I mean, there are just so many stories like that.
Yeah.
And then I started looking around, and said, people, these are my friends. They've all been through something, and they've chosen to follow God and trust him. And now I see how God's using them. And so I started interviewing these people for my own benefit so their stories. I took my tape recorder and got it down so I could get it accurately. And then our daughter-in-law's parents came to visit, and they saw I had been writing things. So they said, her dad asked me what I was writing, and I said, just told him. And he wanted to read it, so I let him read it, and he says, I think you should try to publish this. And that was my first thought of ever trying to publish anything.
So that's really exciting, and just seeing how it started you seeking encouragement, and then as you were encouraged, you were then able to encourage others.
Yeah, it's amazing how God uses that. Yes, and that's been such an encouragement to me to know it's helping others, because I get stories back. And one lady said, I had felt sorry for myself all these years and asking God why. And she said, it was a healing book for me. She said, I cried for 3 days. And she said, so God worked in her life through the stories of these people.
As you were like working on this project, did other people kind of ever reach out to you to share their stories, or how did you find the people that you were talking to? Like, how did you initially hear these stories?
Most of these people I knew personally, like a blind lady. I mean, and I've seen her life, how she trusts God for every little thing. I mean, she just, even now, she's lived alone for 5 years. Her husband passed away. But if there's a problem, she says, okay, Lord, what do I do about it? And just amazing stories. And so I went to her, and she agreed to put her story in. Carol Plate, our missionary, I had heard part of her story, and so she agreed. And Carolyn Sorge's mother, she was, that family. I knew these families. Jean Craddock, her story's in here.
Wow. That's exciting, because other members of our church family, as they read this, like, they too will know some of these people whose stories they're hearing, and they might not, I should say, you might not know some of what's been going on in some of these people's lives. And it helps us understand that we might see these people every week and not understand the amazing things God has been doing in them. And then it's encouraging too, because it's like, well, what can God and what will God do in my life? So, I mean, this is a big collection of stories. There's a lot of people represented. Are there any stories or any of the sections of a story that really stand out to you, that really were an encouragement to you, that you'd like to share?
Well, that's hard to choose because they're all unique and they all have their own story. But I will share one, a beautiful illustration of Christ standing on the shore of a large sea really helped me. On the horizon, a boat is coming toward him. As it comes closer, one can see it has been in a horrible battle and is completely battle-scarred. The mast is torn, the sails are ripped and tattered, and there are holes in everything. The boat represents me. Jesus is the master carpenter and is the only one who can restore the boat. As the boat reaches him, he takes it, this life that I have been living, and begins to work. He repairs the holes, cleans the mast, washes and mends the sails, and clothes me in white. Now I am clean and whole again. As the boat leaves the shore, Jesus gets in and sails with me. Now I know he is always with me. And I just love the picture that gives.
Yeah, and I like that idea. Like, a lot of us look at Jesus as the master carpenter or as like the good doctor. We have a lot of these great illustrations of him like caring for us, healing us, patching us up. But I love how she adds, but then he gets in the boat with me.
Yes.
And that idea that like we're not alone. Like, we don't go to Christ, get fixed up, and then just take off. Like, he goes with us. Yes. And I love that. It's a beautiful word picture.
Yes, it is.
Another question I like to ask people, as I feel like working with teenagers, I can't say I'm young anymore. They give me a hard time about that. But entering into early ministry and family life, are there any like just tips you learned while working on this book, or just lessons you learned living, that if you could go back to 20, 25, 30-year-old Mary, are there any just encouraging words or lessons that you would have given the younger you?
I think one of the hardest things was to admit that we needed help. But we called our church family and asked for prayer. And people gathered around and prayed.
Yeah.
That was so important to us, and it lifted us up. And the other thing, so don't be afraid to get praying people involved. And then trust. Trust God through all of it. He knows, and he'll walk through it with you. I made little 3x5 cards and wrote trust in big letters on them, and put that all around my house. So all through the day, everywhere I went, I saw the word trust. And so just trust God through it all, and he will see you through it.
So often easier to say than do, but so critical that we can just rely on him.
We need to be reminded frequently.
Yeah, and that's where notes that say trust come in very handy.
Yes.
Little reminders just scattered wherever you might be seeing them.
Yes.
But, all right, well, Mary, thanks for joining us and talking about this book. It's available anywhere that books are found. Yeah, you can take a look at it. God, Are You Really There by Mary Hornback. But if you're like me and you like free things, again, like and share this video, and you can be entered to win one of 5 free copies of God, Are You Really There? So again, Mary, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, just to share what God's doing and wants to do in our lives.
Yep. He's living and active, and he's at work.
Yes, he is. So.
All right, so thank you again, and stay tuned on our Facebook and our YouTube for more interviews like this, as well as other content that we're looking forward to sharing with you all. Thank you very much.